Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Welcome to Policy and Rights, the show about government policy and human rights. Welcome back to Policy and Rights here on Depictions Media Radio. I'm your host, Michael Clogs, and in this next segment, we're going to be hearing from Syria and the Russian Federation on the OPCW report on the use of chemical weapons in Syria. It is a joint press briefing between Syria and the Russian Federation, where they are going to attempt to answer some questions about the report and what it really means from their side. Because as we know, that the report actually says that Syria used and probably still has chemical weapons storage and the capability of being able to use chemical weapons against its enemies, and that they have actually used chemical weapons against opposing citizens to their current government. So it is good there. It's the accused actually trying to explain away the report, but I don't want to color the anything too much of what it is that they have to say. I think that we should give them the opportunity to state their case and say what it is that they have to, and move on from there. Just because there's more to this, and that the world is going to actually hear and see the evidence that was found and what is actually in that report. So why don't we listen to what was said in this particular press conference in the UN Press Center in New York City.
Yes, there will be one. So are we ready? Good afternoon, colleagues. Sorry for the delay. Let me open the joint press conference of the Syrian Arab Republic and the Russian Federation. We have Russian Ambassador Nebenzia and Ambassador Bassam Sabbagh here. And we are starting with the remarks of Russian Ambassador. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Thank you, Fyodor. Once again, I apologize for being too late and keeping you too long. I spoke too much today already, so I will not be repeating myself. You know the reason why we called this press conference. This report that was just released, which we, as I said, do not recognize, like we are not recognizing the IIT itself, do not support this structure. Its members are not even chemists. Look at the irony of this. They are just legal prosecutors appointed to rubber stamp fake reports. From its very establishment, the main purpose of the IIT has apparently been to whitewash the illegal acts of aggression against Syria in April 2017 and 2018. Instead of conducting genuine investigations, this team of so-called experts merely reduced itself to retranslating ungrounded accusations of some states. As for the methodology, the investigations of the OPCW Technical Secretariat are often based on the information from open sources without even getting to the site of events that they analyze. Their conclusions cannot stand any criticism and abound in false assertions which are put forward without any respect to the main principle of OPCW investigations, the chain of custody, which is not observed, has not been observed in all the recent investigations that were conducted. I will not be repeating myself too much because I already spoke in detail during the Council's meeting. I think that what I'll do, I'll give the floor to my colleague, Ambassador Bassam Sabbagh, to add a few words, and then I understand you will show a short video.
Thank you very much, Vassily. Thank you all for attending this press conference. It's very clear that Ambassador Nebenzia elaborates on the aspects related to the issues of the what's so-called the IIT report. In my statements before the Council, I also emphasize on many aspects, but let me here highlight two of them. First, the issue of illegitimacy. This team established in a very illegitimate way. Half of the members of the OPCW, 82 out of 193, voted for this. Many countries voted against or abstained or absent from voting. So this happened in the OPCW for the first time. Second, the methodology of work. The IIT basically follows the same wrong methodology of work which was used by the fact-finding mission. And mainly, Ambassador Nebenzia mentioned the issue of gathering or taking the samples and maintaining the chain of custody. According to the CWC, this has to be done by the inspectors and has to be maintained from the time where they collected until it's reached the laboratories, designated laboratories by the OPCWs. This did not happen in the case of Duma. They received these samples. From whom? We don't know. Who collected? We don't know. And from where? We don't know. So this is something very, very important. I wanted to show you some of the testimonies in a documentary we prepared from the people of Duma, those who were in Duma, and they did not leave Duma since then. So they testify. It's a short, it's like 6-7 minutes. And then if you have any questions, we will be more than happy to take it and to answer it. Thank you.
إنه 14 من نيسان عام 2018. البوارج الحربية الأمريكية البريطانية والفرنسية تضيء سماء المتوسط بعدوان ثلاثي استهدف الأراضي السورية. هذا العدوان كان بسبب ما زعموه بأنه تم استخدام السلاح الكيميائي في مدينة دوما بريف دمشق. بعد انتشار هذا الفيديو وادعاءات قادة المجموعات المسلحة في تلك المنطقة بأن الحكومة السورية استخدمت الغازات السامة ضد المدنيين في دوما. جلسة طارئة في مجلس الأمن حاولت من خلالها دول العدوان إدانة الحكومة السورية. بالمقابل رفضت الكثير من الدول وعلى رأسها روسيا والصين هذه الإدانات دون تقديم دليل واضح. الحكومة السورية سرعان ما طالبت بشكل مباشر بإجراء تحقيق شفاف ونزيه من قبل منظمة حظر الأسلحة الكيميائية، ووجهت دعوة لهم بالفعل. قبل وصول لجنة منظمة حظر الأسلحة الكيميائية إلى سوريا بيوم واحد، قامت دول العدوان بقصف الأراضي السورية. بعد زيارة مكان الحادث من قبل اللجنة المكلفة، خلص التقرير باتهام سوريا باستخدام الكيميائي. نتيجة كانت صادمة للكثير من أعضاء لجنة التحقيق. إيان هندرسون كبير المحققين في اللجنة الدولية التابعة لمنظمة حظر الأسلحة الكيميائية رفض ما خلص إليه التقرير النهائي، متهما المنظمة بتزوير النتائج وإخفاء الحقائق والأدلة التي قدمها في تقريره. الصحفي الكندي آرون ماتي زار موقع الحادث في دوما وخرج برسالة صادمة للعالم.
I'm in Douma, Syria, not far from where the Douma deception was staged, one of the biggest pro-war deceptions since the Iraq War. This is where, in April 2018, dozens of bodies were filmed inside of a building. And the people who put out this video claimed that the victims had been subjected to a chemical weapons attack by the Syrian government. This led to airstrikes on Syria by the US, UK, and France. But now we know that the alleged Douma incident was staged. We know that because a hospital scene that was filmed here was confirmed by the people who were in the video and doctors to be a hoax put on by the White Helmets, which was a US, UK funded organization that worked very closely with the sectarian militias inside Syria.
الصحفي الكندي لم يكتفي بهذا الفيديو، بل غرد على موقع تويتر حول أداء منظمة حظر الأسلحة الكيميائية وتقريرها النهائي، وتحدث بالتفصيل. آرون ماتي الصحفي الكندي قال: كانت المهمة الرئيسية هي تحليل الأسطوانتين اللتين تم العثور عليهما في مسرح دوما، لكن هندرسون واجه مقاومة من مرتبة عليا. كان هذا الأمر مقلقا. لم يكن هناك أحد ضمن الفريق يملك المعرفة والخبرة اللازمة لإجراء الدراسة الهندسية كالخبير المخضرم في منظمة الأسلحة الكيميائية إيان هندرسون. غرد الصحفي الكندي أيضا: تمكن هندرسون من المضي قدما في دراسته الهندسية وقدم نتائج ليتم مراجعتها من قبل الزملاء، لكن هندرسون وجه بمشكلة ثانية. رفض رؤساؤه قبول دراسته، بل وأمروا بإزالة النسخة من الأرشيف. دراسة إيان هندرسون وصلت إلى نتيجة هندسية: إنه تم وضع الأسطوانات بشكل يدوي، نافيا احتمالية إلقائهم من الجو عبر الطيران. تم حذف دراسة هندرسون العلمية ووضع كلام شهود مجهولين لتسييس التقرير وفق رغبة دول العدوان على سوريا. منظمة دولية تدعم الذين يخاطرون بحياتهم وحريتهم لتقديم مساهمات في سجل التاريخ قامت بدراسة نتائج التقرير النهائي للجنة منظمة حظر الأسلحة الكيميائية. بعد الدراسة التي قامت بها لجنة مؤلفة من خوسيه بوستاني المدير العام الأول لمنظمة حظر الأسلحة الكيميائية، والبروفيسور ريتشارد فالك بروفيسور القانون الدولي في جامعة برينستون، والمقرر الخاص السابق لدى الأمم المتحدة، والدكتور هيلموت تيلو هيرر دكتور تابع للأطباء الدوليين لمنع الحرب النووية. هذه اللجنة وافقت بالإجماع أن هناك ممارسات غير مقبولة للمنظمة التي تسعى لإخفاء المعلومات بهدف الوصول إلى نتيجة مسبقة كما حصل في تحقيق دوما.
طبعا أبو عبد الرحمن اللي هو سمير كعكي حكى أنه نحن ممكن يتغير الموقف وبس بدنا صبر وبس بدنا كذا، وفي بالمقابل أي شخص نحن نعتبره أو أي شخص رح يدعو للتسوية أو رح يوالي التسوية أو رح يدعو لأنه وقف هدر الدم نحن نعتبره فار من الزحف.
لما أنت بتناقشهم بدقوا هيك سلاحهم على الطاولة بيقول لك إنه نحن بدنا نصمد لآخر لحظة. شو مقيمات الصمود عندكم؟ الضحايا عم يقدموا ضحايا، هي كل ما زادت الضحايا بصير في عندهم دعم برا أكثر، يعني الدعم مقابل الدم.
هو يوم الجمعة بعد صلاة الجمعة بيعملوا دروس ويعني في من نتكلم من الناس اللي بالمسجد اللي هن يعني لهم نفوذ انه اصبروا وفي قدامكم حدث حيغير موازين القوى مثل ما بيقولوا.
بتاريخ 7/4/2018 أنا كنت طبيب مناوب بالمشفى الإسعافي بمدينة دوما. بهذاك اليوم تحديدا حوالي الساعة 12 الظهر وصلت تعليمات لإدارة المشفى أبلغتنا فيها أنه استعدوا، ممكن يصير حدث ما يقلب الطاولة على النظام.
بحدود الساعة 5:30 ل6 بهذا الوقت تقريبا.
هذا التوقيت يوضح بشكل لا مجال فيه للشك بأن ما ورد في تقرير منظمة حظر الأسلحة الكيميائية حول توقيت الاستهداف غير صحيح. حدد فريق تقصي الحقائق ساعة الاستهداف بالساعة 7، أي الساعة 19 كما جاء في التقرير، لكن هذا الفيديو صور في 6:45، أي قبل 75 دقيقة. فكيف صورت حالة على أنها مصابة بالغاز قبل 75 دقيقة مما ورد في تقريرها النهائي لمنظمة حظر الأسلحة الكيميائية؟
صار انه الاصابه الحاله اللي تجينا نحن يرش عليها مي، بعض الحالات تجينا نحن يرش عليها مي.
هون انا بيت حمايه وفي بجنبنا بيت جيراننا كمان بنعرفهم كثير بيقربوا بيت حمايه، وفي بيت خوالي كمان بالابو اللي اخر واحد يعني فيه. نحن انا اللي جنبه يعني انا قعدت اللي جنبه ما فيني شيء، طلعت وما فيني شيء، بس قالوا انه بيت خالي ميتين كلهم، يعني حتى ما حدا طلع من هون عايش. واخذوهم وصرنا نسال عليهم ما عنا عرفنا وينهم، يعني انه ما بنعرف لا ميتين لا عايشين وشو صار فيهم الله اعلم. يعني نحن ما عرفنا شو صاير معهم عن جد، يعني ما بعرف اي شيء عنهم ابدا ابدا ولا فكره.
خرجت انا ووجهاء البلد كثير منهم بغض النظر عن اسمائهم، وقصدنا قياده جيش الاسلام لنسالهم من اصيب، من مات من اثر هذه الغازات. كان جوابهم الامتناع عن الجواب، يعني لم يجيبونا بكلمة واحدة. طيب أخرجوا لنا جثثا، أخرجوا لنا أحدا مات أو أصيب كي نراهم. كان جيش الإسلام يتهربون من الجواب، قيادة جيش الإسلام تتهرب من الجواب وتقول أن هناك غازات وهناك ضرب من الجيش السوري وهناك يعني تهويل إعلامي للموضوع كثير. لكن نحن طالبناهم بالجثث، طالبناهم بالموتى من أصيب بالغازات، لم يجبنا أو يعطونا أي شاهد أو دليل واحد على وجود إصابات أو وفاة.
hoax that was staged with the willing help of the OPCW technical secretariat and personally with the help of Director General. Today I listened to him. He spoke at length, but I didn't hear a single sustainable, serious answer to the many questions that we're asking. It's like talking, blind talking to the deaf. That was my feeling today. Same concerns not just Director General Arias, of course, but also our Western colleagues who won't listen to any arguments. They don't need it because their picture of the events is clear. They have now the proof of seal by the report of the OPCW Secretariat. The case is closed.
Just before taking the questions, I have to draw to your attention that this is a very short or very small part of the documentary. So if you want to have it all, so you can scan this QR. The second, hold on, if you allow me. The second issue is related to the victims. They alleged that there are 43 people killed in this incident. So no one knowing about these 42. We don't have their names, we don't have their bodies. So basically we just have this number in the reports, but no one have anything about them. So please.
Thank you, Theodore. Alan Bulkati from Russian news agency RIA Novosti. On behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association, thank you for doing this briefing. I have two questions, please. The first one is for both of you ambassadors. What particular consequences will this last IIT report entail for Syria? And the second question is for Ambassador Sabbagh, please. Given the fact that you do not consider the IIT as a legal body, how do you foresee the further cooperation with OPCW, and is there a possibility that of the withdrawal of Syria from the OPCW?
Okay. In terms of our cooperation with the OPCW, we are a very responsible member of the OPCW. We took a strategic decision to join the OPCW in 2013. We implement our obligations according to the CWC, and we are working with the technical secretariats on all aspects related to our obligations. Anything out of obligations, we are not responsible for.
On what happens next, Alan, answering your question, I don't know what will happen next. Some of our partners in the Security Council are very inventive, I know it, and what they have in mind, that's not for me to judge. They didn't share it with me. Let's see. Let's see what happens next. But again, whatever happens next will be based on a hoax report. You have to understand that.
Pamela, you go next.
Thank you so much, Fedor. Thank you, Ambassador Nebenzia. Thank you, Ambassador Sabbagh. It's Pamela Falk from CBS News. My question is about your stakeout yesterday, about the crossings from Turkey to Syria with the earthquake relief. We just heard from Dujarric that the hub is still going at Bab al-Hawa, but the road is damaged. It's preventing a lot of the aid from going in. Are you considering other crossings, which many countries have called for? Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. I think I answered very clearly yesterday. I said crossline is available. Syrian government is ready to help, to support any countries who wanted to provide the shelters, the food supply, the medications to the Syrians anywhere in Syria. We can help, we can support, we can work with. So I think the possibility is there, as we have Aleppo airport receiving humanitarian assistance, and the crossing point, it's not far, it's like 40 kilometers from the airport. So I think it's possible, and the government committed to do so.
It's just that a lot of reports are that as much the aid is need is enormous. How are you opening up some of this to get more in?
I didn't catch your question exactly.
You said that it, of course, as far as you're concerned, it has to go through Damascus to be distributed. But are the crossings, right now it's Bab al-Hawa from Turkey to Syria. Are there other places that aid will be allowed in?
You have to understand that Bab al-Hawa is not controlled by the government, it's controlled by Jabhat al-Nusra. So you are asking me about something which is out of our controls. What I said, that anything under our control is ready and we are going to help on that.
And just to follow up, the UK said they will be using the white helmets, which of course came up in this documentary. What's your view on that?
It's their establishment. It's established by the, British intelligence. So if they use it, I will not be surprised.
Nizar, then
thank you, Nizar Aboud of Al Mayadeen Television. My question is, Mr. Arias raised the issue of 2 cylinders being moved away 60 kilometers from where they are supposed to be remain. 16. So once he said 16, then another time he said 60. So why were they removed? Do you have an explanation why they were removed?
It's very, let's say, technical aspects. When these cylinders took from the site in Douma, they kept in a storage. And then we had the request from the OPCW that they wanted to revisit and to examine these 2 cylinders. So they asked us not to do anything with it unless they finish this job. Then the team from the OPCW came and examined the cylinder. So by this, we believe that this is not requested to be maintained in the same place anymore. Then we move it to another storage, and this storage hit by Israelis attacked, and the 2 cylinders were destroyed. So the argument by the OPCW that these 2 cylinders moved to the new storage has no validity, because for the reason they asked to keep it, we implemented, they re-examined, and they visited the site where it was storage.
A quick follow-up, also the report speaks about 43 people, and the names are mentioned in the report. You said that there were no casualties or no mortalities in the incident. Where did they come with the 43 names in this report, and where are the bodies?
The lady in the documentary said, my relatives, my uncle's family. She said, living in this. So after the incident, they disappeared. She said it. So if her relatives are up until now disappeared, so what we will consider this? I don't know.
Thank you so much. This is Abdul Hamid Sayam from the Arabic daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi. I have 2 questions, one for Ambassador Nebenzia and one for the Ambassador of Syria, Sabbagh. Mr. Nebenzia, 2 days ago, I think a senior Russian official, on the occasion of the speech given by Colin Powell in the Security Council on 6 February 2002, as you know, this senior official called for the follow-up investigation of the campaign of deceit that led to the invasion of Iraq. How do you gonna go ahead with this call? Are you serious about investigating the crimes and atrocities committed against the Iraqi people by the U.S. invasion? And my question to my Syrian ambassador, there is a poem by Mahmoud Darwish, put the 2 enemies, Palestinian and Israeli, were put in a cave or in a well, and they found a snake, and they have to cooperate together to save themselves. Would this incident, would this earthquake bring Syria and Turkey closer to each other, work together, and maybe reconcile in the near future? Thank you very much.
There are many things in this world left uninvestigated. And of course, the Iraqi hoax was never properly investigated. Nobody Nobody paid real responsibility for the crimes committed in Iraq. And I shall not be explaining to you why. Today, to think that there will be something like a tribunal on the Iraqi war would be a little bit unrealistic. People are busy with other things these days, but the questions remain. I mean, there are so many crimes committed which are pretended to be not existent, non-existing then at all, as if nothing had happened. This is the hypocrisy of today's world, of the world itself, and of the policies of some of our partners, including here in the Security Council.
Then Michel.
Hi, ambassadors.
The earthquake hit both of our people, Syrians and Turks. This is a very devastating humanitarian situation. And I think both people are now struggling for surviving. As for your questions, I think we made it very clear that whatever it says toward the improvement of the relations between our two countries has to be accompanied by actions on the ground. So there were some military meetings, and there were some exchange of views, and we are waiting to see tangible results on the ground. I think if we have a progress on that, you can see progress on the improvement of the relationship. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, ambassadors. This is Deutsche Shu with China Central Television. My questions are for Ambassador Sabbagh. I just talked to my friends in Syria. He said in Aleppo it's disaster here. Too many people on the rubble, no enough fuel for heavy vehicles and efficient workers there. And I noticed that just a couple moments ago, the Foreign Ministry of Syria actually said that U.S. sanctions hinder humanitarian relief efforts in Syria. So I just want to ask your opinion on this. How would the sanction hinder the efforts there? And second, I just want to know, because you just said that you are ready to help the rebel-controlled area for the humanitarian relief. If this is the case, that the government-controlled area, you don't have enough equipment or resources, how can you ensure that you will give enough resources for the rebel-controlled area, especially for more cross-line humanitarian operations? Thank you.
Despite the fact that this press conference is designated for the issue of the report of the IIT, but I will answer your question. How these sanctions hinder the humanitarian access? I'll tell you very simple, that a lot of the cargo airplane refuse to land on Syrian airports because of the American and European sanctions. So even those countries who want to send humanitarian assistance, they cannot use the airplane cargo because of the sanctions. Of course, the lack of equipment and the lack of capabilities in the government, it's there because of the situation and because of the sanctions. That's why we made an appeal for all countries, member of the United Nations, to help on that situation. So basically, all Syria needed this assistance. So whatever we receive, it will be for all Syrians. So we do not differentiate between this and that. So if countries X or Y provided this assistance, all Syrians who need it will be benefited from that.
So you will promise you will distribute the humanitarian assistance fairly?
Absolutely.
Thanks, Ambassadors. Michelle Nichols from Reuters. Few questions, but I'll keep them short. First of all, back on topic on chemical weapons, the British ambassador this morning said that they're concerned that the government in Syria is working actively to rebuild its chemical weapons stockpile and has been doing so since 2018. I'd like to get your response to that. On cross-border aid deliveries, can you just clarify for us that is it still the Syrian government's position that any cross-border aid deliveries is a violation of your sovereignty and territorial integrity? Is that still the case after the earthquake? The UN has spoken a lot about bureaucratic and security obstacles to cross-line deliveries. So what is the government doing to facilitate deliveries, cross-line deliveries now in the wake of the earthquake? And Ambassador, while we have you, will we see peace in Ukraine in 2023?
You asked me when there will be peace in Ukraine.
Will we see peace in Ukraine in 2023?
I hope, we all hope for peace. We all hope for peace, and I hope that when this arms build-up and this madness about it, which we will discuss tomorrow at the Security Council briefing, will stop, and when those who promote it will stop their proxy war against us with the help of poor Ukrainians who are dying for them, and when they are realistic in heeding to our concerns, which we very clearly stated from day one, then I think the prospects of peace will be nearer. So far, unfortunately, I don't see any readiness on the other side to engage in anything meaningful.
Can you remind us what those concerns are?
We said it. We said it in the beginning that this is that what was happening in Ukraine was a security issue for us. That we want Ukraine to demilitarize and to denazify, and that we want to make sure that no threats are proceeding from that territory to the Russian Federation. These were announcements that were made officially in the very beginning of that crisis.
As for what the British ambassador was telling you, I think this is basically part of the hostile propaganda made against Syria. So I don't think they have anything substantiate these accusations. It's part of their lies, as they used to be. For the second question, it's not that we consider, it's the international law. It is the UN Charter. So don't characterize it as this is a position of Syria. It is a position of each and every country who are keen to maintain sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. So it's a principle. So if it's happened to your country or to his country, it will be the same. Without the control of the government, without permission of the government, without approval from the government, this is violation. Very simple.
And a follow-up on that, just on the cross-line, what's the government doing to facilitate the cross-line?
To facilitate, it's the UN usually facilitate. We, from our side, we have the commitment and we have the readiness. Usually the operations cross-line facilitated by the UN and the international organization and the ICRC and the Syrian Red Crescent.
I'm just wondering, you're saying that the government will facilitate aid delivery to all Syrians. I'm just wondering how you can make that promise and what you would say to people who are in these areas that are not under government control. How are you going to help get supplies there when you don't control it? And also there have been reports that there were bombings in northeast Syria by the government after the earthquake hit. Is that accurate? Why was the government dropping bombs after a disaster? Thanks.
I didn't hear anything on that. But on the cross line, I think it's first you have to have the humanitarian assistance. Then we have the UN and the international organizations who are working on the ground, who will facilitate the crossing of this humanitarian assistance. Up until now, it's very short. I think 2-3 countries. I think I don't want to mention the names because I have to worry about forgetting anyone. But I understand that Russia sent, United Arab Emirates sent, Algeria sent, maybe other countries, I'm not, but very limited. So first, the countries need to help Syria at these difficult circumstances. When this assistance arrived into Syria, we have the UN country team, we have the international organizations who worked in Syria. We will coordinate with them and they will facilitate the distributions of these. So we're given an access to all UN and international organizations who worked in Syria to move toward achieving this goal.
Thank you very much, Ambassadors. My name is Yvonne Murray. I'm from RTE Ireland. I have 2 quick questions, please. The OPCW, you will have seen, previously reported on chemical weapons being used by rebel forces in Syria. Do you think that those reports by the OPCW are also a hoax?
We have plenty of informations given to the OPCW, given to the United Nations Security Council and 1540 Committee. All these informations basically ignored, never dealt with. At least, I mean, to my memory, more than 100 times we sent informations to the OPCW and to the UN regarding attempts by terrorist armed group to either use or to fabricate the use of chemical weapons. So that's one point. The second point, Syria requests investigations on 5 incidents where the terrorist armed group used chemical weapons against the Syrian Arab Republic people and army. From 2016 or 17 up until now, so 5 years, we have no result. This investigation is not achieved. This report is not concluded. So these indications give you a proof that the methodology of work in the OPCW is not working in the right directions. Why the investigations on incidents happened after 2017, Duma 2018, took place and report release, and incidents happened in 2017, reports are not released, and investigations not finished? I mean, this is the questions. I mean, I don't have to judge anything. The situation is judging. The facts is judging. So let them prove to us that they work according to the correct methodologies. Today, Director General used terminology which I hear it for the first time. Highest criteria, best practices. We do not have such terminology in the CWC. The convention and its verification annexed clearly designated the steps on how you conduct investigations. And the technical secretariat has only one choice: to implement these provisions of the conventions. That's it.
You say you cannot answer why they chose the Duma report. I think I can answer. Not easy, not a difficult guess, because they prepared it long. They wanted it to be something with which they could whitewash their aggression in April 2018. It was difficult, but they made it. Congratulations. But I mean, you see by yourself that it's so stitched with such bad threats that you can see it with your eyes, with your open. It's seen in every finding of that report. So the answer is clear: why they are not rushing to conduct investigations on reports on incidents that you were dutifully reporting them. I remember it very well. And that's all being piled in the Secretariat without any answer, without any initiative to begin investigation. Look, today I think I was lucky because I was accompanied by an eloquent host who answered most of the questions. And I think that you should be talking to Ambassador Sabbagh more often, and he will tell you more interesting things. Thank you very much. I think because I kept it too long. Last question. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Am I allowed one last follow-up? You've spoken about Syria's right to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity under the UN Charter. Do both of you agree that Ukraine has that same right?
Let's talk on Ukraine when we talk Ukraine. We came to talk about the report of the OPCW. And on that issue, you heard many of my statements. You will hear tomorrow. And I will try to answer your question tomorrow during the Council's briefing, okay? I will answer fast.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see happen is the truth surface up with the report and how and what all this will mean to the world and what it is that the Russian Federation thinks and what Syria thinks versus the rest of the world. These two countries are being accused of some pretty horrific stuff, and they do have a chance to defend themselves, but like I said, we'll just have to see how it all plays out and look at the evidence and see what is true from there. Thank you for listening to Policy and Rights here on Depictions Media Radio. Please find that subscribe button wherever it may be. This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.